USC women's lacrosse is gearing up for senior day.
And as it's my last time hosting, I guess it's my senior day too. But we have freshman midfielder Kerrigan Miller in studio to help me reminisce.
Okay, all right, Kristen. Sports Scene starts now. Welcome to the Annenberg Media Center. I'm Rachel Frayne.
And I'm Kristen Lago. USC women's lacrosse will be celebrating their seniors this Friday during their game against Colorado in the Coliseum this time. And the team is coming off of a 5-game win streak. Their last game came from, well, pure domination against San Diego State last Saturday.
That's right, Kristen. The women of Troy are looking pretty insane right now, and a huge factor to their success is senior Michaela Michael, who was just named MPSF Offensive Player of the Week last week. You know, only her 10th MPSF honor in her career at USC.
Yeah, like no big deal or anything on that one. But this girl is also the MPSF's all-time leader in draw control and has the second most goals in league history right now. Excuse me, I guess you could say she's a bit of a leader on the team right now.
Getting a little worked up over there, Kristen.
I know.
Michaela has scored a total of 13 goals over her last 2 matchups, but honestly, no amount of words or crazy stats can really even describe the way that she plays. And we could go on and on with accolades, but maybe we should take some time to talk about the rest of her teammates.
All right, I can do that for you. Yeah. There you go. As the defending MPSF champs, this team has a lot to prove, and they're proving it this season. The Trojans have won 31 out of their last 35 games. They've already clinched a spot in the MPSF tournament, and this isn't just thanks to Michaela, as you were saying.
Right.
Their goalie, Gussie Johns, and defender, Lydia Sutton, are also making a very big impact on the team.
And the team will need every effort from those 3 as they take on number 6 Colorado this Friday. Colorado looks pretty similar to USC on paper. They're 12-1, USC's 11-3. Colorado's only loss of the season comes from Stony Brook, who USC also lost to. And last year, when USC took on the Buffs, they came out triumphant 9-8. And just as that game was a nail-biter, Kristen, this year's should be too.
Yeah, you're definitely right. I expect this one to be very similar to last season's matchup as it went back and forth throughout that game. And as you can see, both teams here have very similar scoring margins, and they both lost, as you said, to the same opponent. USC will really need to shut down the Buffs' leading scorer, Darby Kiernan, and Gussie Johns will really need to hold her own against Colorado's dynamic offense. It's going to be a tough one for the women of Troy.
Clearly, USC has no easy task for the upcoming game. And while we talk a lot about the upperclassmen who lead the team, it really is a group effort. So joining us now is one of those fresh faces on the squad.
Yeah, thanks, Rachel. I'm now joined by one of the women's lacrosse team's own freshman midfielder, Kerrigan Miller. Kerrigan, thank you so much for coming and chatting with me today.
Thank you for having me.
All right, let's get right to the lacrosse team. As we were talking about just a second ago, you guys are currently ranked number 9. You're coming off a dominating 2 wins over the weekend to Oregon and to San Diego State, but you're playing a top-ranked opponent this week in Colorado. How has your team been preparing for this game? Is it any different from kind of the last few games that you've played?
We definitely know how important this game is, not only just towards our season and our overall rankings at the end of the season, but just growing as a team. We've said from the beginning that we want to get better and better each game, and we're looking at this game Friday as an opportunity to do that. So prep this week will be huge.
Yeah, I can imagine coming in to play number 6 team in the nation. Obviously, that prep will be very important. But it's not just that you're playing a top-ranked team. You're also playing at the Coliseum, so a very historic venue, I'm sure, for everyone on the team. But you as a freshman, I assume you've never played there before. Is that adding any pressure to you that this game is going to be at such a historic venue?
No pressure added, more of like a way to hype it up, I guess. And yes, I've never played at the Coliseum, but I've heard all about it. And it's our senior day, so it definitely will be a big aspect to the seniors who are playing.
Let's touch on those seniors right now. I know we were talking about Michaela Michael, but there's a slew of other seniors. I think we were talking about earlier that all of the seniors on your team actually start for the women's lacrosse team, so a huge presence. Have they been important to you as a freshman and kind of learning kind of the ins and outs of playing at the collegiate level? And, you know, what have you taken from them this season?
Definitely. I think all of the seniors have paved the way, not only for the freshmen, but the entire team and all the underclassmen, and we're extremely grateful for them. They definitely did an awesome job of just taking us under their wing and making the transition from high school play to college play much smoother.
Yeah, let's talk about you specifically. Obviously, you're just a dominating presence on the field. I was looking at your stats. I think 26 goals, 29 ground balls, just a presence up and down the field. So was it difficult for you coming in, making that transition? I know you said the seniors made it a lot easier, but to have such a dynamic performance in your freshman season, what do you attribute to that success?
I think the biggest, the hardest point of my transition was kind of the role I played on the team. I was never really a goal scorer, or I was very much a defensive midfielder. So I've kind of had to change my role as an offensive-minded player, which is hard to do. And the seniors, being that most of the seniors are on the attacking side, definitely made it a lot easier for me to transition into that.
Great. All right, so I know lacrosse is probably the one huge thing on your mind right now, but we're going to swipe lacrosse off the table. I know you're from New York, moved out to California for college, have spent about almost 2 semesters here, so almost about a year here. So we're going to play a little rapid fire game if you're up to it, New York versus California.
Sure.
All right, let's go. Okay, first up, better pizza.
New York.
All right, I expected that one. Better attitude.
New York.
Okay, better beaches.
California.
There we go, we got one. Best accent.
New York.
I
Long Island.
The Long Island. I know I haven't heard anything come out. Better sports teams.
Ooh. I'm going to say New York.
Okay, better weather.
California.
Okay, and last one is better nightlife.
California.
Okay, so about 50-50 on that one. You can be an East Coast and a West Coast type of gal.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you so much for joining me and for playing that game.
Thank you, guys.
Sprung that on you. All right, well, you can catch Kerrigan and the rest of the women of Troy this Friday at the Coliseum as they take on Colorado.
From one dominating women's team to the next, I've got the inconspicuous Josh Cohen and Ben Albert here to talk a little women's water polo. Thank you for joining me, guys.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah,
of course.
Absolutely. Okay.
Anytime.
So as we know, the women of Troy suffered a heartbreaking loss to the number 2 Stanford on Saturday. So my first question, USC's 52-game streak-ending loss to Stanford on Saturday was what?
I'm going to underline it a couple
Okay,
times. Got some
yeah.
extra time here.
Yeah, emphasize what you
Yep,
feel.
that's it.
And Ben taking his sweet time.
There you go.
What do we have? Okay, a swipe left and shrug. Can we get a little explanation?
I don't think you were expecting these two answers.
Not even in the slightest.
Shrug, playing a good team, playing a great team, top 2 teams in the country. Someone's got to win, someone's got to lose.
That's
Shrug,
right.
might as well play a great team like this, business end of the season, before the postseason.
Yeah, I said swipe left. You know, this is it's not an ideal game. It was one that you just say on to the next one. You have to move on. It happens. There's better things ahead. You know, swipe left. Just move on to the next one.
Okay, I'm into the positive outlook here. So during that game, the women of Troy surrendered 12 goals, marking the first time USC has allowed double-digit scores since February 27th last season. So Stanford's ability to score on the Trojans revealed what about the team?
No squeaks.
This is the long answer over here from
Chugging
Josh.
right along. Yep.
Okay, yep.
Yep. Again, got to
Give me some
underline.
time. Zilch and Stanford is good. Very.
Josh, why don't you just say great?
I could have.
To underline.
There are better adjectives out there.
There
That's
are
true.
better adjectives.
Didn't think that one through well
Let's
enough.
hear it in your words
Obviously
then.
not.
Well, I went with good, could say great, could say outstanding. Again, number 2 in the country. I mean, look at this. Past 7 seasons, Stanford, 4 natties, USC, 3 natties. Their goal-scoring prowess, we know it's going to be better than other opponents they face. Don't think there's too much concern there. Again, Stanford finds the back of the net very well. That game was 12-6 in the dying embers. USC got a couple late on to close it to 12-8, but Stanford's an elite offensive team.
Yeah, exactly. You know, Stanford really is the team that is going to be able to challenge USC, but we knew that all along. We've seen it the last couple years. I believe they were the last team to beat USC a couple years ago before this winning streak started. So to me, this doesn't really reveal anything other than these are the 2 teams that are at the top, and they're the 2 that are most likely going to be battling it out for the foreseeable future and possibly into a championship.
Right, so speaking of the championship, postseason for women's water polo starts in a couple weeks.
Ooh.
So now my last question is looking very far into the future. The women of Troy's chances to repeat as NCAA champs are what? Let's be bold on this one.
Oh, this is
Wow, done. That was quick.
I misspelled
I
it.
don't know. Maybe I didn't think through this one enough. I don't
All
know.
right. Ben's going through some
Conceal my answer.
crisis, some
viewers.
personal discussion.
There we go.
Can you?
Brain, that would be splendiferous.
Thank you. I
welcome.
don't think I've seen that word in quite some time.
Walking thesaurus, Ben Albert.
Absolutely. And lofty, for Josh Cohen.
Yeah.
Ben, let's start with you.
Yeah, you know, splendiferous, I was looking it up the other day just off chance, and it actually means extraordinary or showily impressive. And so to me, looking at USC in the women's water polo team, they are still about as good of odds to win this championship as they've ever been. Honestly, if anything, I think that loss might fuel the fire even more than it's been. And honest, you know, like we said, Stanford, USC, clearly a top 2 in the country. So we knew that the whole time. They're going to win, I hope.
Yeah, we hope. And Ben and I, just for the record, in our free time, do just look up words to add to our grandiloquent language. Yeah, to add to our lexicon for sure. So that's on the record there. But I think playing good teams down the stretch is huge. And I think it's not just Stanford, but now you go on the road, you play Cal, and you play UCLA. So it's not just, okay, the loss to Stanford is now going to fuel them, and now all of a sudden, oh my gosh, we've lost a game, different situation. I think that you have to look at all 3 of these games to close out the regular season. I'm saying very lofty because they'll be hitting good form, even if they don't win all the games. Playing well, playing good opponents.
Well, I appreciate this. You guys have been very educational
Yeah.
today.
You know, I believe these 2 words are synonyms.
Oh my.
Well, look at you.
In the right context, of course.
I got to get back to studying words.
Put on your sunglasses. We have no time left. Thank you for joining me. And for more on women's water polo, let's throw it over to a little segment called Ask an Athlete.
Hi, I'm Terrence Davis, and I'm inside Heritage Hall with Brianna DeBow from the USC women's water polo team. Brianna, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
So, Brianna, as everyone knows, your team is having a fantastic start to your season. However, we're not here to talk about the team. We're here to talk about Brianna a little bit. You'll have 60 seconds to answer the following questions. You ready for that?
Yeah, let's do it.
First question, what is your favorite color?
Yellow.
Second question, what is your favorite kind of food?
Mexican.
What is your favorite kind of food dish?
Enchiladas.
Enchiladas. Your funniest teammate?
Nikki Stansfield.
Nikki Stansfield. Your biggest role model?
Chris Segisman, who's my high school coach.
Your favorite sport outside of your own?
Squash.
Your favorite professional athlete?
Michael Phelps.
Hulu or Netflix?
Netflix.
Your favorite show on Netflix?
I just finished 13 Reasons Why. It was very sad, but it was really good.
Favorite all-time movie?
Oh, The Sound of Music.
Worst habit?
Taking too many naps.
Favorite music artist?
Carrie Underwood.
Ice cream or frozen yogurt?
Ice cream.
A celebrity crush?
Ryan Gosling.
Ryan Gosling. Well, thank you so much, Brianna, for joining me today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You can catch the women of Troy back in action this Saturday as they head to Berkeley to take on the California Golden Bears.
And it's almost game day here at USC. Well, sort of. This Saturday, Trojan fans will get a little taste of what to expect next season as USC hosts their annual spring game at the Memorial Coliseum on Saturday. I'm joined now by Alexa Palermo to talk our favorite subject, football. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
All right, it seems like just yesterday to me that we were on the desk with Connor kind of picking our predictions for standout spring ball players, but it's been 4 weeks of spring ball. Have those standouts changed for you?
Yes, I'm actually going to take your breakout player and make it my standout player this spring, Michael Pittman.
Yes.
He has really come into his own this spring, and we've really seen him do great things in red zone drills and third down drills, and offensive coordinator T. Martin actually mentioned that about him. I spoke with him a little earlier in spring ball, and he's excited to be taking those first team reps, but knows that the wide receiver core is very talented, although it is young. He's very excited to have that competition because it's pushing him to become better.
Yeah, I definitely agree. He's going to be one that feeds on that competition. But you and I aren't the only one giving him high praises. Head coach Clay Helton also spoke about Pittman at yesterday's practice.
And has had a great spring. He's made some big plays, a couple big plays for us in the scrimmage on Saturday. So can see his confidence rising, can see his execution rising. So we're counting on him next year to execute.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to see how Pittman develops later. But there's 2 other standouts on the board right now. You want to talk to me about them?
Tyler Vaughn's newcomer, very talented. Helton actually compared him to Adoree Jackson, which I think is the utmost compliment for a football player.
Yes, I definitely agree.
Exactly. So he is a very fast wide receiver, and depending on how he can do against all of these other people, which we'll get into those battles later, he can definitely see some playing time.
Yeah.
Arguably my favorite, Olawale. He's amazing. I don't know if you know, but he's been playing football for 2 years now.
Incredible.
And he is about to start on the USC football team. Like, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Helton kind of mentioned that he was a little behind in the football knowledge, and he's really been spending a lot of time in the film room trying to understand more of the X's and O's and specific things that a player would need to know, and Helton's really praised him on being able to do that. So I think that knowledge is going to help him, propel him to do great things. I saw him in the Coliseum last week, and he really dominated, so he's definitely going to be a weapon on the defense and scare those offenses off the field.
Oh, yeah, and I know Coach Nansen does this thing called Linebacker 101, so they go to that, they watch film all the time, so I think that would be something that's hugely helpful for someone like Olawale, who does not know the game that well, but is just a physical presence on the field.
Always been athletic, so.
Yeah.
Great.
But these two right here, I know they're locked in a position battle that we're going to get to. USC lost their star wide receivers, Juju Smith-Schuster and Darius Rogers, to the draft, and have a ton of wide receivers. They're very deep in this position, but it's going to be a battle for that starting spot.
Exactly. We put Deontay Burnett over here as a likely starter because of his amazing performance against Penn State in the Rose Bowl. He really came into his own in that, and I think it's safe to say that he is a likely starter.
Locked in, yeah.
As well as Jalen Green. He's very talented, but I think we could make an argument for Michael Pittman taking that likely starter position because of the way he is after he catches. He's a very physical presence, and he could take that Juju kind of position where he's physical after the catch.
Yeah.
But also the three of these guys are very great, and so as they're young, so you could see that maybe where the leader starts to come out and what the other guys look to, that could be a reason, as well as their talent to getting that starting position.
And well, the good thing for all of these guys is that quarterback Sam Darnold, I don't think he's going to be that type of one receiver kind of quarterback. So even if they don't get the starting role, they'll all see playing time and get that ball in their hands.
Exactly. I think that's one of the greatest things about Sam Darnold is that he doesn't have a favorite, and everyone can see a lot of playing time and a lot of catches, which also makes him, it's hard to guard for other defenses because there's so many talented people.
All right, and another position group that will definitely be a toss-up coming out of spring ball and into fall ball, the offensive line position. USC lost Banner, Bama, and Wheeler, three of their starting O-line members. So I'm going to let you take this one because I'm as confused as anyone.
It's confusing.
Yeah.
The injuries are kind of what makes it the most confusing. So Toa Lobadan is still recovering from his ACL injury from last season, so we haven't seen him in any team drills this spring. Vianney Talamevau got hurt this spring, and after that, Helton emphasized the fact that he wanted all of his linemen to be able to try different positions. And so I think that's where we saw Nico Fala trying it out as guard. Nico took over for Toa back when he got hurt at center, and so I think the fact that Nico's testing guard is making way for Toa to come back at center, but Chris Brown, Roy Hemsley, and Clayton Johnson all can see some great playing time, but they do have the ability to be able to rotate and fit wherever Helton needs them to create that starting five.
So definitely rotation and flexibility will be the two themes of the line. Well, thank you so much for joining me and chatting some football,
Of course,
our favorite.
it.
Yeah. But we will definitely have to wait and see how these two position battles, as well as a slew of others, unfold in their practice tomorrow and well into fall ball next season. But for all the USC fans out there like us too that are longing for the return of game days, you can catch your own spring standouts at the spring game this weekend. But someone else playing games, I think, Rachel, what you got going on over there at the couch?
Well, thanks, Kristen. The USC baseball team starts a 3-game series against Cal State Fullerton tomorrow, and Connor McGlynn and Aaron Glazer are here to play a new game with me. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having us, Rachel.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have a little game for you. It's called Spin to Win. What you're going to do is you're going to take a little spin on our spinner, naturally here. Whatever topic, whatever picture it lands on, we're going to discuss. I know the pictures are not very revealing of the topic. Have no worries. I know what they are. So let's go ahead and give it a go.
All right. We talked about senior day earlier in the show, so I'm going to take the lead on this one, Aaron.
Okay, I like it.
Oh,
a roller coaster. Well, obviously, that means the roller coaster ride that this bullpen has been on for USC baseball. You know, you've got some great starters and relievers and some not so great. So let's give that a go.
Connor, let's talk about Quentin Longery and Austin Manning. These are two relievers. They're both lefties, actually, and they're both young. I believe one's a sophomore and one's a freshman. But these guys have ERAs that are both north of 4. And it's not like they only pitch, 1 or 2 games and they just have the bad game. They've each pitched over 15 innings apiece. And when you have ERA over 4 late in the game, the bullpen's job is really to not be that noticeable. You're supposed to just kind of hold the game on and finish out strong. But these guys, those numbers just pop out off the page, and that cannot be in any way remotely successful for this team going to late innings. They need to play better down the stretch.
Well, while some of the young guys are struggling, there are other young guys who are pretty exceeding. Connor Lund, one of them, he's a freshman. He's coming in. He has one of the lowest ERAs in the entire team, especially coming out of the bullpen. And then also Brian Dydra, who's a redshirt sophomore. He only had 1 inning of work last year, and he's already have 21 this season. And then on top of that, a 1.2 ERA. So it's not everyone that's struggling out of the bullpen. Obviously, the starters have to give them more work and more time to let them get into the 7th, the 8th, the 9th before they have to call on the bullpen. But so far, it's kind of been this back and forth inconsistency, like that roller coaster.
Right, kind of a theme for the team overall is inconsistency and a little bit of struggle this season. Aaron, you want to take a spin, see what we're going to talk about next?
Let's give this a shot.
Oh. Okay, 6. So 6 stands for the fact that this USC baseball team has lost 6 of their last 7 games. What's going on there, guys?
Well, like you just said, inconsistency. So 6 of the last 7. They've been playing tough opponents. They had Arizona in Tucson, one of the top 10 teams in the country. Then they had Stanford at home, where they actually won 1 of the 7. And it's just been this kind of back and forth battle between themselves. One day they're able to get strong pitching performances. The other day, their offense actually shows up. Even the game against Stanford, where they took them into extra innings, then it became the bullpen that let them down late on. So it has to be them starting to put together a full game in order for them to right that ship.
I would totally agree with that. You mentioned that Stanford game. That was a 3-3 game in extra innings, and then they lost 8-3. It's not like the bullpen gave up a little Stanford got a hit and run or something to win it. This was that 10th inning was a disaster for the Trojans. They have to play better down the stretch. You're right. It is inconsistent, and I think that it obviously starts with the pitching, and of course getting a full pitching performance, starters and bullpen would be great. But I look at this kind of the big 3 that hitting: Brandon Perez, Frankie Rios, and then Lars Nootbaar. These guys have got to be consistently on the base, putting themselves in scoring position to then get other guys like Corey Dempster to maybe drive them in, knock in some runs. And I think once they get somewhat of it hitting, it can kind of help and relieve the pitchers. The pitchers are always forced to do so much. Then it doesn't work out very well. It needs a whole team effort for these Trojans to be more consistent and avoid numbers like these.
And it's not like the road's getting any easier for them.
No, it's not.
With a series coming up against Cal State Fullerton.
Yeah.
So.
Well, like you mentioned, they do start that series tomorrow. Thank you guys so much for joining me. That's all the time that we have.
Thanks for having us, Rachel.
Yeah, absolutely. So inconsistent, hopeful, whatever you want to call the team, they do start tomorrow against Cal State Fullerton. So we're going to throw it over to Lauren now with some social media updates.
Thanks, guys. Although it's a race to the finish of spring practice for the USC football team, taking a look at social media, Coach Helton did some racing of his own on Sunday. Helton had the honor of being named Grand Marshal of the Long Beach Grand Prix. He tweeted on Sunday, "Thank you at Toyota Grand Prix and IndyCar for a special day at the track. Truly an unforgettable experience. #Fight on." Not only did he give the command for the drivers to start their engines, but he also got to do a ride-along around the street circuit with living legend and racing icon Mario Andretti. Senior Media Relations Manager at IndyCar, Pat Caporale, tweeted this photo, showing Helton and wide receiver for the New England Patriots, Julian Edelman, meeting up to learn about IndyCar from Andretti prior to the race. IndyCar and Trojan fans alike were excited to see Helton as Grand Marshal. Larry B. tweeted, "And USC coach Helton with the most famous words in motorsports. That was awesome." So, between serving as Grand Marshal for the Long Beach Grand Prix and attending USC's annual Swim with Mike charity event, Helton got a nice weekend reprieve from the intensity of spring football. But he's back to the grind as the Trojans push on in their last week of spring practice. Back to you.
Thanks for that, Lauren. Well, Kristen, last weekend was my favorite sporting event of the year, the Masters Tournament. How psyched were you to see Sergio Garcia slip on that green jacket after winning?
What green jacket? No, I'm just kidding. I am not the biggest golf fan, but I have to say it was pretty awesome to see him sink that final putt. But what was even cooler for me was that USC actually had one of their own who got the chance to play at Augusta with the greats.
That's right. USC alum Stuart Hagestad was the low amateur last weekend. He finished 6 over, putting him at a tie for 36 overall. Stu's little brother Richard is a walk-on on the football team, and their father is a huge supporter of USC.
Nothing better than a Trojan family like that one. But that's all we have for this week. Thank you so much for joining us.
Be sure to catch us next week on social media at SportsSceneUSC.